More reactions are rolling into the Zimmerman acquittal, and now we've got some, both in the media and in sports, some very notable African Americans giving their reaction to what happened. Here's a few.
Well, I agreed with the verdict.
Yeah.
I feel sorry that young kid got killed. There was some racial profiling, no question about it. But something happened to change the dynamic of that night. There are a lot of black people who are racist too. I think sometimes when people talk about race, they act like only white people are racist. There are a lot of black people who are racist. Trayvon Martin, God rest his soul, I think he did flip the switch and start beating the hell out of Mr. Zimmerman.
You can't prove if somebody is a racist unless they really come out and do the act. Let's not go into a racial discussion unless we really have something there.
So you can certainly have a problem with some of the things they said, like Bill Cosby saying they have to do an act, like maybe stalking a black kid through a neighborhood and then shooting and killing him, maybe. But let's get these videos all together. We've got somebody goes even farther. This is the Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. He's talking to Piers Morgan. Let's hear what he has to say.
This case was not about race at all. And what happened, you have the race hustlers and poverty pimps like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and others who turned it into a race issue in order to gain power and wealth. Using black Americans by dividing the races, intimidating white people in order to gather more power or get more power and wealth. George Zimmerman would have done whatever it took to protect himself. It didn't matter to George Zimmerman the color of the man. And this notion that Trayvon Martin was some little innocent kid tiptoeing to the tulips and George Zimmerman had nothing else to do but to go out and kill him is a lie. Trayvon Martin was a thug. His parents know that, you know that, I know that. Oh, they knew that Trayvon Martin was a thug, and that's what it was all about. He was a pot smoking.
And he goes on, and he says all these things that are wrong. Piers Morgan stepped in, said, "You don't speak for me."
And he said it was quite offensive to Piers Morgan's credit.
Is that what's referred to as Uncle Tom?
Yeah,
usually,
it is.
Yes.
No, this one's not a question. Like, that's a heavy thing to say, Uncle Tom, right? And I
mean, is that what they mean when the?
Yes, that's exactly what they mean.
Oh, okay.
But this one is not ambiguous, right?
Right. Yes.
I believe that he's actually seen Boondocks and wants to be Uncle Ruckus. Like, he's trying to be Uncle Ruckus from that show. And so I like that range because now Barkley, I don't agree with, but he speaks his mind and he's obviously coming from an earnest place. And like, I don't agree with him that Trayvon at some point was beating the hell out of Zimmerman, right? That there's a lot of assumptions there. He had a couple of scratches, etc. I mean, a broken nose. They got to know a fight.
Yeah.
And Barkley and I might disagree on like who started it, if it made sense for Zimmerman to shoot him after they had a fight and he got punched in the face.
But Barkley's main point was that there wasn't enough evidence to convict him. That was his primary point, which is hard to disagree with.
Right,
or it's a valid argument to make.
Totally valid argument. I would have argued for manslaughter, but perfectly fine, right? Now, Cosby, I think, goes a little further, right? And he says, look, you can't ever assume racism, basically what he's saying, unless you could absolutely prove it. Well, that's a pretty high standard, right?
Yeah.
And so,
and as John pointed out, you have some proof here.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of proof here.
Bill Cosby needs a other voice for talking about racism that isn't the buy Jell-O pudding voice.
Yeah, you know, George Zimmerman had a restraining order against him and was already charged with a felony for assaulting policemen. So when they never say he's a thug. No one ever says he's a thug. This guy, and how is it that if you have a restraining order against you, you're still allowed to carry a gun?
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the things.
And one of the reasons I think that Bill Cosby is saying what he's saying is that people get hung up on this weird, and I understand why, the definition of racism, where they assume that if you're saying someone's a racist, that you just hate and you just want to kill and you've got like propaganda in your house against the race, and that's not what it means. It means that you evaluate people and situations differently based on your racial impressions, and that is true of every conservative America. It's true of basically every liberal white person in America. They see it somewhat differently. Hopefully you don't allow it to affect your politics or your day-to-day interactions with people, but it did in Zimmerman's case.
From the time Cenk and I started doing the show in 2001, right? Yeah, more or less.
The very first pilot was December of 2001.
Yeah, so in 2001 or 2, we started, and you guys talk about it now. Like the problem with the word, and it goes to your point, John, is that the word racist is so incredibly loaded that you think, like, as soon as you suggest that somebody did something racist, they feel like you just called them David Duke. And there are plenty of good people who have been accused of that, and we're like, I'm not a racist. What are you talking about? Right? Yeah. Well, you're a little bit of a racist. And the but so we started talking about, we were kidding, but the racialist, which is like, and what we really get at is sort of when you bring racial components into something, and there almost needs to be a secondary word for that, because I hear in Bill Cosby a guy who's probably seen so much dramatic change in the country, some of which Bill Cosby played a role in happening. Bill Cosby, an important figure in America.
And you can really see that change through the windshield of a Mercedes.
Oh, you're too harsh. You're too harsh. Listen, I've defended Bill Cosby on the show repeatedly. He says, look, black kids need to get an education, and we got to solve black on black crime, etc. And I like that there's somebody out there pushing from not a place of bad intent, right? Jared and I have had some debates over this. Here, I think he's gone too far, where he's just assuming away all prejudice.
Right.
If you don't want to use.
He wants to believe that we've come farther than perhaps we have.
That's what I hear in his voice, that he wants to believe it. He hates it.
And Ben's right. We have come really, really far in Cosby's time, but we haven't gotten to the end. And I think that you can have a civil and totally interesting conversation with Bill Cosby and Charles Barkley about these issues, and we'll find areas of agreement and disagreement. And then you get to the people who are paid to be the Uncle Tom, Uncle Ruckuses. That's part of why I wanted to make that distinction, right? So it's not like black people can't disagree. Of course black people disagree. Of course they do, right? But some, like Jesse Lee Peterson, are paid to come out there and say racist things that white people want to say but can't say, so they pay a black guy to say it. So he comes out and he goes, oh, well, Trayvon's definitely a thug. Now, but why would you say that? The kid was getting Skittles, and he didn't pick the fight. Why would you say he's a thug? That makes no sense. And then in the middle of it, he makes every assumption in favor of Zimmerman. Zimmerman was a good guy, and he never cared about race. How do you know that? The Zimmerman advocates are always like, you don't know what happened on that night. You can't make the assumptions that Zimmerman was. But this guy makes assumptions. Zimmerman was such a good guy, and Trayvon was a thug, and I know it. And the reason is he doesn't know it. He always assumes the black guy is guilty and the white guy is innocent because that's what he's paid to assume and say.